and welcome to the Fantasy Football Fix Easter Edition. I am Richard from the DipsyDudes and we are back after the international break with the first in a series of double game weeks. Will this see big opportunities for big points in the coming weeks? We'll be looking into that in just a little bit, but first let's look back at the dream team for game week 30. It's a 4-3-3 formation and there's only one place to start, and that's with the man of the moment, Harry Kane, who bagged the big sexy points with a hat-trick in a man of the match display. I know a lot of you had him as captain in that game week, and with the fixtures to come in the next couple of weeks, I think it should be staying that way. Alongside him is one of the most informed players in the game right now, and someone who hasn't been mentioned too much on the fix despite him actually being in my own personal team. It's Giroud getting a brace and max bonus points. That's 6 goals in 5 games for the Frenchman. Finally up top, it was Crystal Palace's Glenn Murray with a goal, assist and 3 bonus points, continuing his mini run of form, which has seen him score 4 in 5. This week's random Manchester United Dream Team player was in the midfield, with Juan Mata getting a brace with his best display in a United shirt. Fernando got a 14 points full house in his only double digits display of the season, much like Aaron Lennon, who hit a big fat hen after a goal scoring man of the match display. That's 15 points in 2 games from Lennon. Worth keeping an eye on. In defence, it was all about Southampton, with Nathaniel Klein continuing his excellent season with a clean sheet, assist and deuce bonus points. The only Saint to do better was on the other flank with Bertrand, who went 1 bonus point better with a 12 points haul. Going 1 better again was Seamus Coleman, who finally justified his high price tag and reputation with a goal, assist and deuce bonus points. You also had a rare Swansea appearance with Fernandez getting a healthy 9 points, and finally Simon Mignolet went from a 3-point week to a huge 8-point week thanks to saving Wayne Rooney's bust-ass penalty. Some things to consider in that dream team, but now let's look at the players for your consideration in game week 31. So the biggest decision a lot of managers are going to have to make is who's going to replace Southampton's Fraser Forster in goal, with the £5.5 million keeper out with a knee injury. He's already the most transferred out player in this game week, so who are people bringing in for him? Well, the most transferred in goalkeeper so far is Manchester United's David De Gea. His 3-game clean sheet streak came to an end at Anfield, but he is the highest scoring keeper in the game today with 119 points. Also, Manchester United are home to Villa, so you've got to be looking at a clean sheet in that one. Villa's momentum grinding to a halt after that loss to Swansea, and Manchester United coming off outclassing Liverpool in their last game out. It would be a good bet to say that there is a clean sheet to come. The only thing that makes me think twice about it is the price, because at the moment he's going to cost you about £6 million to bring in, and also Manchester United's next 2 fixtures after the Villa game are the Manchester Derby at Old Trafford and then an away trip to Chelsea. Those fixtures might be enough to put me off dabbling on the Spaniard shot stopper, but as a short-term solution, go for it. Another keeper who's seen an upswing in transfer activity as of late is Swansea's Fabianski, who, surprisingly enough, is only 2 points behind David De Gea's season total with 117 points. Fabi's just come off a clean sheet performance against Aston Villa, there's that name again, and that was their first clean sheet in 3 games. Fabi's been in okay form the last couple of weeks. He's been having a 1-on, 2-off kind of situation, but Swansea's fixtures see them home to Hull and Everton in the next 2 games before a trip to Leicester. So the fixtures look favourable, and at only 5.3 million, the price tag is not too bad at all. The thing that sits in the back of my mind is something I mentioned last show, and that's on the beach syndrome. Because I always feel that Swansea have a tendency to coast out to the end of the season as they have less and less to play for. Thing is, a lot of the teams they're playing in the next few weeks are in the same boat, apart from Leicester, who are fighting for their Premiership lives. Also, they did get a good win at Villa last weekend, so I would say this keeper is a good shout going forward. Keep an eye out. Last week's Dream Team keeper is another player to think about, and that is Mignolet at Liverpool. Surprisingly, he actually comes in cheaper than Fabi at Swansea, so that's obviously an advantage, but coming off that body blow against Manchester United, Liverpool travel to the Emirates to take on Arsenal, who could put a nail in their top 4 coffin. Also, Mignolet will be going up against one of the most informed strikers, if not the most informed striker in the game today, Olivier Giroud, or as Richard Nixon in Futurama would say, Giroud. Mignolet has had 7 clean sheets in his last 10 games, and after the Arsenal game, Liverpool have got fixtures at home against stretched Newcastle United, then away trips to Hull and West Brom before hosting QPR at Anfield. Something to consider though is that during the next 3 games, Liverpool will be without Skirtle in the defence, so that disruption could lead to a lack of coherence in the defence. For this week, short term, I would be wary of going for Mignolet, but those next 4 games would be very, very strong contenders for clean sheets. Thing is, if things go pear-shaped against Arsenal this weekend, will Liverpool have anything to play for by then, or will their season be effectively over? Let's look at a man who's been keeping goal for the top team in the country. It's Chelsea's Courtois. For all the praise that he's had this season, from a purely fantasy football perspective, he has not been setting the world alight at all. He's had 89 points so far this season, and he's had 1 clean sheet since game week 19. During that time, he scored 24 points. Blech. The thing is with Courtois, the problem is that any time that Chelsea have a clean sheet or a game that looks like it could be a clean sheet, Peter Cech plays instead. Now, the thing to consider going forward that might make you think about Courtois is the fixtures coming up. Home to Stoke this weekend, away to QPR. Then some tough games. You've got Manchester United home, and then in game week 34, it's a double game week where they are against Arsenal, but then they travel to Leicester as well. Who knows? They might have won the title by then. They may be coasting by then. It might all be done and dusted. Thing is, if Cech is coming in when the fixtures are getting congested, is the double game week going to be an advantage to Courtois, or is he just going to be playing one game and Cech the other? Is the double game week a moot point as it pertains to Courtois? He's currently the same price as De Gea, and even with the double game week, I'm not 100% he's the best option at all. So, I don't know, dubious I'd say. What about the man who will replace Forster in goal at Southampton? Let's talk about Kelvin Davis. He came off the bench and grabbed 7 points against Burnley last time out, taking his season total to 7 points. But he is only 4.4 million. He is a damn good defence in front of him, and this weekend sees them travel to Goodison Park before games against Hull, Stoke and Spurs. He might very well be a sound option. Bear with me on this one, especially if you're looking to make some money out of this transfer to fund other moves in your team. It's a gamble for a player who's only played 77 competitive minutes so far this season, and he is a little bit doughy around the middle, if you know what I mean. But in the defence that he's in, with those defenders in front of him playing so well, there is a strong possibility, if they can hold up their end of the bargain and play as well as they have been, that old Davis might be able to coast his way to a couple of clean sheets. So if you're looking for a team who love getting clean sheets at home and have got 2 home fixtures in the next 2 weeks against the 2 bottom clubs, West Brom is your shout. But record scratch! First choice keeper Ben Foster is, like Forster, out with a knee injury indefinitely. So now that sees another man, like Davis, in between the sticks at the Hawthorns, and that man is Boaz Myhill. Another cheap option and a player who is only 4 million, and surprisingly the 5th most selected goalkeeper in the game today. Much like Davis, that price tag is very attractive, but unlike Davis, Myhill isn't as safe a bet. But if you need to squeeze those pennies, then it might be worth rolling the dice on Boaz Myhill. Finally, the last thing to consider for this week's game week is that it's a double game week for Aston Villa and QPR. The question is, who out of those do you go for? What players are there to go for? Let's look at Villa first, because they have two of the most in-form attacking players in the game today, in Benteke and Gabby Aggie, but both were shut out against Swansea last time out, and this weekend they go up against Manchester United. So it's going to take a huge effort for Villa players to get points out of Manchester United, who are very much in form at the moment. The game to look at this game week is Villa against QPR on Tuesday night. Now that's a game where those players should be getting points, especially Benteke, who I'm personally a big fan of. So are they worth going for on the off chance that they can get 2 points against United, maybe sneak something, and then look for goals against QPR? It's a gamble. It's a big gamble. You can say exactly the same for QPR though, and their man Charlie Austin. Now on paper, I suppose QPR have the more favourable fixtures as they travel to the Hawthorns to take on West Brom, but the Baggies have been in really good home form, especially keeping clean sheets. So look at a QPR, is there going to be a likelihood that they're going to get a clean sheet, and is there a likelihood they're going to score? I'm not really that convinced. I mean, let's look at their main man again, Stone Cold Charlie Austin. He hasn't scored in 3 games, and he's only scored 3 goals in his last 10 games, so he is nowhere near the form he was earlier this season. And personally, I am not as convinced as a lot of managers out there at the moment of his potential to score goals going forward. Personally, out of Benteke and Austin, I would go for Benteke. And if your team right now has a strike force of the 2 most informed players right now, that being Kane and Giroud, is that 3rd spot there made for the Villa man? The DipsyDudes Divisional Championship. It was a huge scoring week for Triple DC managers, and Latchford again stay at the top and extend their lead to 37 points after having Kane as captain, big points from Giroud and Bertrand, and a goal and assists from the midfield. Messing around has jumped into 2nd place, and there's been a lot of movement in the top 10 with Flanagan FC and the famous NP moving on up. A big well done to the famous NP for getting 101 points last week, but a special mention for 14th place Pure Quality, who scored a huge 110 points after banking on the Southampton defence and some of the usual suspects elsewhere. Something for you to look out for in the next couple of weeks. There's going to be the Fantasy Football End of Season Awards, where you'll get the chance to vote for the best and worst Fantasy Premier League players this season. We'll be working out the details the next few weeks, and once we have everything confirmed, we'll let you know. But keep an eye out for that one. But right now, that's about it for this game week. Thank you very much for joining us. Remember, if you like what you see, click like, leave us a comment, or hit subscribe to ensure that you get the latest DipsyDudes episodes as soon as they are released. Remember, we have a social media presence on Twitter and Facebook, as well as a discussion group at fiso.co.uk. We also have an email address as well if you would like to express your interest in contributing to the show in our Dear Richard segment. All details down in the description. But until next week, good luck to all you managers in game week 31. Happy Easter. I hope you have a great one. Let's have some chocolate eggs and big sexy points.